Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Spiritual Psychics TV. I'm Ashley Robinson, your host this evening, and you are watching Being Spiritual, a spiritualist philosophy show with some live interaction from you, the wonderful audience and congregation at home. You can ask me anything, so do get those questions coming. Ask Ash absolutely anything spiritual, paranormal. You can ask me about the football, but I know nothing about that. And we'll also be doing some readings, and some of your best questions will feature online. I'll be answering the questions live. I'll be drawing some cards and giving some readings for people this evening as well. And depending on your questions will depend where the show goes. So if you are a returning viewer, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your commitment to this channel, to this show. Thank you for following us on YouTube and Facebook. If you haven't already and you want to participate in the show, log into YouTube, share this stream, show us your love. Deborah Long says, good evening on YouTube. Good evening to you, Deborah. Welcome. Nicola says hello to everybody. Hiya, Nicola. Terry Louise, wonderful lady. Look forward to seeing you soon, Terry. Hopefully this autumn. Millie Brown, evening, Richard and Ashley. Hope you're all as well. All is well that can be well. Thank you. Hi, Millie B. Welcome. Rosie Rose. Hello all. Hey, Rose. Emma Brooke. People very polite tonight. They're asking if we're all well. Yes. Not too shabby. Linda Despard. Hello there with some stars. I was an Emma J, Lacey Lawrence. But remember, on Facebook, folks, we don't use the paid-for Facebook stars. So please don't spend any money on those. This is 100% free. Gloria, is it Gloria Wojcik? Good evening to you. And we want to keep this channel free. You can do that by helping us to build the community. Sam Morgan, good evening to you. Yes, Diana, we do indeed see your questions. So on Facebook, just do exactly what you've done now by asking that question. And good evening to you. Maria Eastwood, good evening to you. Hello. Like a high five sign it. High five, virtual five. Lovely Mo May from the west of Ireland this evening. Hey, Mo. Christine Davis, good evening, joining us on YouTube. If you're joining for the first time, folks, let us know where you're watching the show from. It's always great to have returning viewers, but it's also lovely. People like Tammy, good evening to you. Let us know where you're watching the show from tonight. It doesn't need to be sort of that detailed, you know, from the garden chair, but, you know, part of the world you're in. Evening, everyone, says Nikki Schools. Good evening to you. Hello, Marie Taylor, good evening. Welcome on Facebook. And Margaret Murray, good evening to you too. So start getting your questions ready, folks. Yeah, good. Robin Wagner, hi. Welcome on Facebook. Rain Cloud. Yeah. Right, we're going to get straight into some questions, folks. If I haven't specifically mentioned you, know that we can see you. We know that you're there. But in the interest of getting this show on the road, I'm going to take Diana's first question. Could I get a reading? What I want to know is, might we be moving soon, and will it be to our house? And how am I about to find out about the house? Will it be a house? Thank you. So, Diana, interesting question. As a spiritualist medium, we often talk about the fact that our job, if you like, our role is to give evidence of life after that change we go through called death. It's not to do sort of fortune telling. Now, as a spiritualist medium, sometimes your communicators have an idea about likelihood, about the trajectory that we're on, about something we're doing, and they can see certain things at play. It's almost like from their elevated position. There's also an element of destiny at play, Diana, and certain things predestined, sort of meant to happen. So the honest answer is, I don't know. I don't have a communicator for you at the moment. What I will do is I will draw a card for you. And you gave me the opportunity to talk about the different sort of types of readings and mediumship. If we get a, well, in fact, I've just had a communicator pop in for you, Dinah. So I do have a lady that claims to know you. This lady is talking about being mother, grandmother. She's talking your father's side of the family. She's talking about passing with a heart-related condition. She's given the letter C, C for Charlie. Charlie, the letter C for Charlie. She's also given me a February anniversary, and she's talking about cherries. In fact, the first card I drew there was the father, just a confirmation. This lady, I believe, would be grandmother on dad's side of the family, dad's mum. And I was just asking if she's able to influence the cards. She's done that as part of her communication. So let's put that question to your communicator. You want to know is you say you're moving soon. Will it be to our home? And how am I find out about the house? Will it be a house? Okay, right. Let's see. So the card I draws for you. Okay, 3 cards. Right. So I've just asked about those 3 questions. Right, first question I get for you there is the prison card, and the second card is the death card. I'm going to add some context and I'm going to explain this. It's my medieval deck I'm working with this evening. What I want to see with the death, actually, and in this context, is a good thing. Okay, I've got end of chapter into a new chapter, and with the prison card, although I've got you shackled in the cell, in the jail in there, the sun is shining on the outside. It's raising, the sun has come up, it's come up in the east, it's illuminating the cell, and the doors are open. There's no reason to stay where you are now, is what that card is telling me, Diana. It's time to leave. The door is open, time to go. Death is the end of that chapter, into pastures new. So I do see a move on the horizon. There's the element of the stars at play. That was the third card I drew in that sort of sequence there. And for me, this goes back to that element of destiny. And I did say, it's very difficult to sort of predict the future, because the future's not yet written, Diana. And actually, I could tell you all of this, and then you could just decide to withdraw tonight. You change destiny because you have free will. We all have personal responsibility. But this lady that was communicating, that was talking about being in this elevated position, saying we can see the changes happening. We know that you want to leave. There's no reason to stay where you are. We've got the closure of that chapter, the transition into the new chapter. This is meant to be happening. We want it to be happening soon as we can. But she's talking about stepping stones, Diana. And he spoke about your house. Will it be a house? She's talking about the fact that there is a transitional place. It's like a stepping stone. In order to have the moving pieces all in the right order, you're going to have to zig before you can zag, Diana. And they were saying that there might be this opportunity to leave your current property where you are now, go into something quite transitional. They're talking about 12. I think they're talking about weeks, so like 12 weeks, up to around 3 months in this sort of transitional space before going into something new, which would be more of a more permanent move. So that lady, hopefully you understand, Diana, hopefully you understand what she's saying. We caveat by the fact that all of that is based on, what they believe at 9 minutes past 8 on the 23rd of June is likely to happen from what they can see. They can see those things all in the motion. Okay, Diana? So you don't have to give us feedback if that's all made sense. Definitely do give me some feedback, given the verification that that all makes sense. Ray Robinson says, good evening. Who is that? I recognize that name. Hello, Dad, and hello, Mum. I know that Mum is not the keyboard warrior that she once was, so she's unable to comment live on shows, but I know she's with Dad, and I know that she always tells him off when he doesn't specifically mention her. Good to see Mum and Dad today. We're doing some Spirit Seeker planning this afternoon, thinking about our spiritual and psychic weekend retreat in October in Stratford upon Over. SPTV will be live broadcasting throughout that weekend, folks, and I know that many of you are joining us. Linda says, I'm wondering if I have investors or sponsors coming through soon. Okay, so we will ask that question, Linda, and just stand by very, very quickly. I've got some sort of alarm going off. Yeah. And yeah, it'd be great to have some spiritualist philosophy questions today, but I'm also happy to try and do some questions about what's going on, particularly as it gives me the opportunity to talk about fortune telling and the fact that we can't do it with any accuracy because it's not yet happened. So actually in that last one, although I used some cards, we also had a communicator. Most of our communicators do have opinions. They don't have a physical body, but they're always interested in what's going on in our lives. And whenever it's appropriate, they can be nosy and they can have a little nose around. And of course, they don't have to worry about the physical parameters of walls and distance and time, so they can look through. And Linda, I had a man that was communicating with me. This man says he knows you, says he's family. He is a father. He is a brother. It gives me the letter R for Romeo or Reginald, Reggie, sounded like my dog coming through there. But no, this man that was claiming to know you and talking about family, he was giving me the letter C, a cancerous type condition. You'd understand this man in the family. He was certainly saying that he knows that you're putting in all the more than reasonable efforts in order to secure investment in a project. And he's showing me a waterfall, okay? And I don't think this is a physical thing around water. I think he's trying to show me some type of situation where you have a start and finish date in mind. You have a number of things, a number of widgets, a number of products you're looking to deliver. And he's talking about them all being lined up and sort of sequenced, dependable on each other, almost like that sort of waterfall sort of project style. And he's talking about the fact that we need a senior responsible officer to endorse the business case, to put the money where their mouth is, and to see the opportunity of doing this. The card that I just drew for you, Linda, is the Voyage card. This card tells me that you're on a journey and you've set sail. Okay, so it goes back to what he was just talking about, that waterfall. You've got this opportunity, you know where you want to be, you've got the finish line, you've got the finish in mind, and you have started your journey. We now need someone to load the ship up with all the supplies you need, and so that you will be ready to complete this voyage. Your communicator, this man that's talking about being found, the dad and the brother, talking about the fact that you need to make sure that Linda, you are properly trained, equipped and guided. He's putting this bag on your shoulders and he's stuffing it full of everything you need. And he's talking about the fact that although you ask if you have an investor, you have been investing in yourself, is what he tells me, Linda, and that you've done everything reasonable to get it to this point. And there is sending you some love and some lights, and wherever possible, trying to generate the spirits of affirmations and good luck for someone to put their money where their mouth is. I feel there was a man in particular that had asked about some of this, asked about what was being delivered, that spoke about the quality of what was being delivered as a result of exploring the art of the possible, Linda. And it's like, well, they've got the funds, they need to put some money in. So, Linda, hopefully that makes sense. You've understood your communicator as well, and you've understood the spirits of what is being said. The other thing, folks, that I wanted to say then, so 2 questions we've just had, in reality, are hypothetical questions. Okay, so even though I absolutely believe what the communicators have told me is the truth, it is their truth and it is their opinions about the situation as they see it now. Good evening, Julie Caswell. Can you have a shout out to Auntie Sylvia? No, I'm not going to do it, Julie. Of course we're going to do it. Auntie Sylvie, good evening to you. I hope you're enjoying the weekend with your niece, Julie. I hope you all have a lovely time. And like the sunflower there, may you both shine and turn to face the sun. Francesca Louise gives us some sun as well. So yeah, the hypothetical questions, folks. As an evidential mediumship, which I've tried to blend with, hiya Geraldine, straight away people can say, I don't know who that person is. That doesn't make any sense. And they can say, yes, I do understand that communicator. That does make an awful lot of sense. And therefore, evidential mediumship in terms of life after death, you've got someone that says, yes, I asked for life after death proof. I've now had that, and now they've given me a message. A lot of these hypothetical questions, unless you come back and show in a couple of weeks, say, yeah, Ash, you were absolutely spot on, really stunning, and I hope you would do that. There's obviously no way of knowing right now. So I like to sort of avoid doing too many of those questions, because for me, it's not proof of life after death. I've tried to blend it today. And what do you think, folks? Did you like my blended approach? Was I able to answer those questions in a way that for you that didn't understand the relevance of their question saw evidence of life after death, and therefore was interested in the way that a communicator tried to answer those questions, and I blended with the cards? Let us know right now in the live chat. Terry Louise, question. Okay, I haven't fully grieved for my father. It's been 3.5 years ago. How do I let go? Like the song in Frozen, you've got to let it go. You've got to give it back to the universe, Terry, and that takes time. That takes time. You cannot put time on how much time it takes, but there's an element of process to all of this. Very recently, my godson Robert, I spoke about in the last couple of shows. He died on May the 4th, Star Wars Day. I remember Star Wars Day for a number of reasons, because May the 4th be with you. I love Star Wars Day. I'm always a big fan of Star Wars Day. It's the day that my brother-in-law gave birth, him and his wife, his partner Daisy, to a gorgeous little girl. But it was also sadly the day my godson Robert made the decision to take his own life. He died by suicide. And as a spiritual counsellor, as a mental health first aider, I've read about all the different phases that people can go through when grieving, suffering a bereavement, overcoming the mental health barriers that come up as a result of bereavement. And actually, I had experienced loss. I had a friend of mine when I was 18. He was 18 that had been killed in a fight. A friend of mine who was 16 and died in a car crash, and I'd had older members of my family died. People die of cancer and illnesses. So even though I'm only 40 years old, I thought I've kind of got this. I understand how it all works. I understand working through the sadness, and I miss the physical presence of people. And my faith and my belief system has given me huge comfort in knowing that there is another form of life, and that their personality continues unchanged into that life. But when I found out that Robert just killed himself, he died by suicide, I went through that immediate shock and denial. And even though my wife was telling me that he was dead, I was getting up, walking with the phone in my ear, saying, well, where is he? And in my mind, I was hearing dead, but I was hoping hurt. And I was going through this real denial. And it's obviously a couple of months later. It was his funeral last Friday, which I conducted. The first time I've conducted a funeral, and I made it a celebration of his life and a funeral without God in one way, because we didn't talk about God, and I know that was in keeping with his beliefs. But I've been working through those different things of anger and that element of bereavement counselling that I've been on the receiving end, and I've also been trying to support friends and family. And obviously, it's still very fresh. But if I talk about that sort of sudden death of a young person versus the death of my grandparents, all of four of my grandparents now on my side of the family have all passed over to heaven, all at different times over the last 8 years. And I still have moments where I'm absolutely fine about that, and I know that they are in the spirit world. I know they give me evidence of life after the death. And then I'll drive past where my nan used to live, and I'll suddenly break into floods of tears and miss her physical presence. So 3.5 years in the reality of our entire lifetime isn't a long time. So don't be too hard on yourself about not letting it go, but just do it 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time. And I know that you have a belief system in spiritualism, knowing that he is that somewhere, and then working through a few other things around how we hang on to stuff. So my good friend Ralph Steadman used to talk about acceptance. He used to talk about being blessed. He used to talk about saying stories. People, particularly when people pass with detriments of their character, they start to write lists, and then thanking people for the experience, even really difficult, painful experience. And he used to say, sometimes in our life, we won't ever get to the point, particularly when we're hurt, we've been hurt by someone, or we're hurt by the physical loss of someone, that we'll actually thank them for that experience. But he had found that when you were able to, actually, that was when you truly, really let go of it and embraced it. So there's that element of acceptance, getting past the denial. And you say 3.5 years in, you're talking about it. So well done, and thank you for sharing, Terry. And once you get beyond that, then it's acceptance and that recognition in your mind. And in their mind, it's like creating a list of the things you're thankful for, the things you are blessed with, and then actually, wherever you can, I think it's important to make a list of things that used to wind you up. Maybe there was nothing, but there'll always be something, perhaps even if it's a small irritation, because working through a list of things, once you're able to accept all that and be thankful for that too, and thankful for all of the experiences, and thankful for the experience you had, including the experience of them going home to heaven, that's when people talk about fully sort of letting it go. And as I say, it might not happen in every single scenario during this earthly experience. We are a spirit incarnated as a human being for this human experience. Terry goes on to say she believes wholeheartedly Dad is with me, just in another place, brings comfort, but I'm still stuck with all these emotions of wishing things were different as he was here physically. I think, Terry, absolutely normal that you go through that. My godson, I'm thinking about him, feeling sad now. I just want to hug him again, because the last time I hugged him, I had no idea it was going to be the last one. I remember that sort of that physical embrace, in the same way that I loved, hugging my nan. What was, I think, nice with my grandparents was the culture of living, and how those memories are different when they're more vivid from spirit. So I've always been brought up, in a spiritualist family. We show our unconditional love by the way that we live our lives, the way we experience it, by the service we give. And I don't think there was a single conversation, either face-to-face sort of visit or on the phone, that I didn't tell my grandparents I loved them, and they told me that they loved me. And that is enormously powerful. It's not just going through the motions of saying the words. And I have really strong, fond memories of doing that with my grandparents. But I think that when the memory is more colourful, more vivid than a memory, I know it's them sharing that memory with me as well. And that gives me great comfort. And, just finishing again with Rob, it was without a doubt the most recent and greatest challenges on my own faith and belief system, trying to understand the destiny, an element of destiny at play there. I can't, but I do recognize it was his decision, and it was his free will that led him to make that decision. And although I might have cursed him for making that decision, I accept the fact that it was his to make. I might have different words when I see him again face to face in the spirit world, and therefore my faith and belief system has supported me. But it's rather than a solid foundation, I'd say I'm aware that my spiritualism is more elastic. It's allowed me to bend with it and go through all of my emotions and feel everything I need to feel. And I think you just need to let yourself continue to do that. Thank you very much. Great question. Emma Brooke says, we will never forget. They will always be in our hearts. Absolutely. And we carry them in our hearts and in our minds. And then in our mind's eye, that vivid imagery, Emma, there's an opportunity to do that. So who might have some spiritualist questions then? Stacey Fernon says, hey, Ashley. Hey, Stacey. How's it going? Stephanie Robinson. Hi there, Stephanie. Not aware an obvious relative there, but no doubt all the sons of Robin are connected one way or another. Jade Fleming. Hi. Good evening to you. Andy. Good evening, sir. Mo May says, how do you know you've had past lives, and how do unresolved issues from your past life influence your current personality and thought patterns? Ooh, that's a lovely one, Mo. Gives us an opportunity to delve into a couple of areas. And folks, if you don't know what Mo is referring to, Mo is referring to the concept that this current incarnation as a human being and the human being experience doesn't have to be the only time you get to do it. If you understand that you're incarnate, if you are a spirit incarnate now for a human experience, and then actually you start in heaven and you finish in heaven, then actually there is this concept that you can do it again. You can reincarnate. And of course, your current life experience may be your first. It may be your first and only experience. It may be one of hundreds, thousands, or hundreds of thousands. So I certainly believe in the concept of reincarnation. I believe it's absolutely possible. I think some people do it hundreds of thousands of times and have done over thousands of years on this planet as human beings. I think that's all of the bits of the energy that can all come together and do that. I think if you really want to know whether or not you've had a past life, then one of the really interesting things about this earthly experience is that, of course, the vast majority of our conscious mind has been scrubbed. And we start poor and penniless as a naked, baby that arrives in this earth, absolutely dependent on everyone. And by the time we can able to sort of, access more of our subconscious and things that are there, we still don't have this knowledge and memory of a past life. People talk about the fact that through meditation, through regression, you can access things like the Acacia Records. You can start to go to the sort of halls and schools of learning, and you can access almost like an encyclopedia. This is your life red book of a previous life that you've lived. I've done that through regression and meditation. I've been fascinated, and I believe that I have incarnated previously to this life as Ashley Robinson, and in state of meditation, I've encouraged bits of that life to come forward sort of by way of evidence. Lots of spiritualist ambassadors and philosophers talk about past lives being absolutely possible. Others don't mention it at all. So it is compatible within spiritualism, but it's not part of spiritualism. It's not a core principle of spiritualism. People that do believe in past lives often talk about karma. And as spiritualists, we certainly talk about the fact that for every deed, every decision, including your good and the evil decisions, there is a cause and effect, and there are consequences. For every good thing you do, for every bad thing you do, there are consequences. There is outcome. There is impact. People talk about progressing through the earthly experience in the third dimension to a limbo, to an afterlife in the fourth or fifth dimension. There perhaps being multiple dimensions. People talk about certainly a dozen or so. Other people have spoke about hundreds. And you cannot progress as a spirit being with any negative energy. And only beautiful light and love can continue to progress. Everyone has an opportunity to pass into the spirit world, but progression from there within the realms, people talk about the fact that your past lives have influenced how far you can progress. And actually, depending on how much bad you did in your life, it may be one of the reasons you choose to go back and do it again. Work off some of the karma debt. My good friend Ralph Steadman used to talk about the fact that indeed your lives get harder, not easier, because you live your first sort of couple of lives, and if there's an element of choice, you perhaps choose the path of least resistance. You go forwards, onwards, and you look for upward rising trajectories where that earthly experience is a good one. You're born to nice, healthy, womb. Everything you've ever wanted and needed is given to you on a plate. Perhaps you have servants, and it's only at the end of that life you look back, oh, I did take advantage of a few people. Maybe I exploited some of those people that were there to serve me. I'm going to go back and do it again. This time I'm going to be the servant. And then you go back and I was wicked to still people. There was a food chain and I had to eat to stay alive. But actually, I now look at my life and I want to do things differently. So, yeah, through meditation, through regression, people believe, I believe, you can find out bits about past lives, bits of things you're still working on, things you want to do differently. I think that people can do this on their own. They can do it in soul groups. You get these soul, the twin flames, soul mates that want to always be in love in multiple sort of experiences. All of that, I believe, absolutely possible. Also, if it's possible, you do it once, you go back to heaven, you go, that was enough of that. Planet Earth, training planet, very difficult, very difficult. Not keen to go back there. Other people go through and go, wow, what a rush. Send me straight back. I think that from an evidential mediumship point of view, most of my communicators imply that they rest and recuperate as a spirit being in the spirit world for perhaps 2 or 3 generations of family. So they're reunited in heaven before deciding perhaps to reincarnate. But I'm aware of belief systems where people believe it happens immediately. And indeed, in places like ancient China and, the Dalai Lama, as well as the emperor, they think that right down to the second of someone's physical death, as they go through that change, the change of birth actually is where the personality or the soul enters the body. I don't necessarily believe in that. I think because of what I believe in, I've got to say, could be possible. As my friend Malcolm Robinson always used to say, your mind works better like a parachute, Ash. Keep it open and you'll find far more beneficial. I believe actually it's at the point of conception that the personality, the soul, actually starts to join the physical body. And then after about 6 months from that point of conception, there's more of an interface and the personality really starts to blend with the body and the baby. But I know from my own personal trauma, and I know from evidence of babies who were conceived and then days or weeks where they were unable to progress, they continue to develop in the spirit world. So Mo, hopefully that answers your question. I think that there's a huge idea of that. If your personality carries unchanged into the spirit world, why would it then be wiped when you go back down? So there's that element of like a scrapbook. It continues to pick things up like an old tire. It's got all the miles of everything you've done so far. And Mo, I'll just draw a card for you, which is the water wheel. Trouble at Mill. I just suddenly heard Trouble at Mill. Obviously, I know a little bit about you, Mo. You've just shared as well that you're in West Island at the moment. But I want to take you straight to an old mill that is still operational, but no longer as a mill. I've got almost like some sort of Airbnb equivalent residence there. And I wanted to say that Trouble at Mill. There's been a huge investment to get this building back up and running. And actually, the water in that card, you could see that the water was just starting to trickle, just starting to turn the wheel. And that from the outside, everyone can see the big wheel moving slowly. What they can't see is that it's still turning. And as a result of its turning all the little cogs behind the scenes. And I want to say that externally, Mo, people have noticed that you are a little bit more shabby than usual. And I mean that in an energy point of view. Like your energy's almost missed a bit of the mojo. Mo's mojo May is missing. Lots of M's there. Bit of a tongue twister. But Mo, missing your mojo and slower. People have noticed that from the outside. But actually, everything's cooking on gas on the inside. All of the cogs, all of the wheels, all working hard. There is no trouble at Mill. So, Mo, hopefully I've answered your question and hopefully you've understood the purpose of that card. Thank you, folks. Hello, Leanne Garcia. Good evening to you. Keep your questions coming, folks. Spiritualist philosophy questions, and I'll draw cards for people that ask good questions too. Emma Brooke says, I'm wanting to learn in spiritual, but I'm struggling to connect. What's the best thing I should concentrate? And thank you, very much appreciated. Emma, I believe that every single one of us has a principal guide that from the moment of conception to the moment our body and vessel goes through that change we call death, they dedicate our entire life and experience. They dedicate their spirit life to that, to guide us, to direct us, to inspire us, to act as Pinocchio's conscious, Jiminy Cricket on his shoulder. And I think that the first thing to concentrate on is a connection with that guide team. I say team because I also believe that although we have at least one principal guide, the more we want to do, the more teachers that turn up, the more guides. In the same way we go through primary schools and high schools and secondary schools and further education, we have different guides at different times of our life for different things. But concentrating on the guide team, trying to understand who working with you, who they are, I believe that most of them will have a personality, Emma, that they can share with you. They can start to give you evidence, perhaps, of the last earthly experience that they had. And I believe that all of us will have a guide that have had an earthly experience. Not always an absolute guarantee, and some of them may have had experiences over millennia, maybe even other planets. But I think that most of our principal guides have had an earthly experience, and they can share that personality with you. You can start to work out, almost like playing Guess Who. You remember that fantastic child game? Right, so we're going to start here. Are you male or are you female? Now, it's 2023, folks, so we might want to ask prelims, how do you identify he, she, they, it, him, but I think that in most sense, because we're talking about a past life, people can tell you, biologically speaking, if they were a man or a woman. Did you have short hair or long hair? Did you have facial hair? Did you have blue eyes, brown eyes, green eyes? Did you wear glasses? Did you not wear glasses? Did you kill them with the candlestick in the greenhouse? The Guess Who and the Cluedo types of questions. When you ask those types of closed questions in your mind and you start to get a telltale sign for what's yes or what's no, you are developing communication. And I said the difference between a memory or a hallucination or some sort of mental health break and psychosis is the vivid imagery that spirit will be able to put into your mind. We ran a couple of different Meeting Your Guide shows, so check them up. You're on Facebook. Go into the archives on SPTV UK, and you will see that this show goes back over the last 2 to 3 years. I think we must be approaching, Rich, if we've not done, in my 100th show, actually. I'll have to look through and count them, see how many we've done. Okay, 2,500 shows by SPTV in total, which is incredible. And I've been presenting. I think since about 2020, roughly sort of every other week. So have a look for meeting your guides. There was a brilliant guided. Well, I say brilliant. It wasn't mine, but yeah, I like to think I delivered it well. Guided meditation on meeting your gatekeeper. That's one of the favorite things I like doing with, if you like, new students in circles is obviously I've told you I'm going to go and find your principal guide, but actually understanding who sits on the door between this realm and the next. Who is your gatekeeper? Who lets people come in? And creating the concept of a meeting circle or a waiting room where you start to bring in other guides. That's also another brilliant way of doing it. So thank you, Emma. Really good question. I've drawn a card for you, which is the fortune card. And look at this figure here. They're on a winding, raising staircase. Winding is a real pain for them because they're working hard. They're going uphill. They don't know really where they're going. This is quite dark. They've got a lantern there. They're looking forwards, and you just need to go one step at a time. I want to say patience, Emma, particularly in this spiritual journey. Take one step and one foot in front of the other. Onwards, upwards, rising. Your fortune awaits you. You have the key, you have the light, you have everything you need. You understand there is someone there. You're just now picking up the walkie-talkie and working out how to communicate. So keep going forwards, keep on keeping on. Your fortune awaits you. Use that light. You are a light worker. You turn to face the light. You are the seeker. We just spoke about spirit seeker, the spiritual psychic weekend. You are indeed a spirit seeker, and the card signifies the quest ending in fulfillment. Your quest, your thirst, Emma, for information. All of this will come true for you, and it will succeed. You will succeed. You will find what you're looking for, and you would do this with good luck. You would do this with persistence, and it will increase the wealth of knowledge. So keep on keeping on, Emma. Thank you very much for that lovely question. So keep the spiritualist philosophy questions coming, folks. This is really lovely. The lovely Pauline, fantastic medium, Pauline Walsh. Good evening to you, my friend. I hope you're doing well. Natasha Diango says hello to everybody. Natalia, or Natalija, Natalija Bresi, good evening to you. I hope I've pronounced your name right. Limo De Pimo has a question. I notice a lot of mediums are either female or gay. Could there be a reason for this, or is it just in my mind? No, I don't believe it's in your mind. It's certainly in the UK, in America. I've noticed that people working within spiritualism, spiritualist congregations in general, do tend to be more than 50% women. And I think that, you know, there are lots of reasons for that. We'll explore some masculine, feminine energy. I think some of it is around sensitivity. Some of it is around culture. We spoke a little bit about mental health in this show. And even though I've been brought up with fantastic, support network around me of people to talk, I still had my own stigma. I'd created my own stigma around mental health. And I thought that even talking about being sad or depressed would be a sign of weakness, even though I'd spent my entire life people telling me not that. So I think there's something about the masculine energy where it's not always as natural to work within that feminine or sensitive energy. I've always been quite a sensitive kid. I used to sort of cry watching the news. My mum would be like, "Why are you crying?" I was like, "Some people have died." "Did you know them?" "No, I didn't, but it's really sad." And I think that, people that pick up like empaths, like sponges for that sort of sensitivity, you tend to see that more with women. Different things and different changes happen in people's lives. You see it a lot with parents. See the sort of that maternal instinct that kicks in when people become parents. And I think that, certainly in London, lots of mediums, I would say it's probably closer to 50-50 in terms of men and women. I also think that we do see, a great inclusive population amongst the LGBT sort of plus community. And I think there's a number of reasons for that. Now, some of it is perhaps people being absolutely confident about the fact that love means love and they can love the people they want to love is really important. If you think about this country in particular and other free countries like America, it is not in 2023. Sadly, it has been over the period, but it's not a criminal offence you are not going to be stoned to death. You're not going to be ridiculed in most circles. You can love who you want to love, and love is universal. And I think that actually people that are able to love freely, love unconditionally, love who they want to love without fear of death, actually that helps them attune to that sort of more sensitive nature of that instinct. And that sensitivity, for me, in my own experience, has been closely linked to my ability to attune. So I think that, yeah, it'd be interesting if other people have seen that. But yeah, in my experience, the vast majority of our congregation are women, certainly more than 50%. And I think amongst the working mediums, I'm seeing a lot more men now starting to work in sort of administrative circles. And I think it's much closer to 50-50. As a gender equality sort of network ambassador, I'm also aware that I think men, and I'm going to be really careful how I say this, but I don't think men have to work as hard as, let me start with some. I'm going to caveat this, folks, because we're live, but I think that some men in some scenarios don't have to work as hard as some women with the same abilities and talents, right? And across the world, that exists. And I think that within mediumship, particularly sort of professional mediumship, I think that it is still much harder for women to have the same professions on the same terms and conditions without a pay gap as men. I'm thinking about rugby. I absolutely love my rugby. I captain a civil service rugby team, which is an open club across the country. We've just got a new women's team, and the standard of the players in the women's teams are much higher than the men's open team at the moment. They're all playing at quite high standards. Half of the players I met the other day are what I would describe as semi-professional. I mean, they're all working full time for the civil service because they're not being paid. And the England rugby team, the Roses, one of the most successful female rugby teams and indeed sports teams of all time, at one point didn't even have a professional contract. I mean, they were representing their country in the same way the men were, but they were paid a lot less, and then not even professional at one point. So I think there's an interesting thing emerging there around the fact that actually there could well be more thing, but there's still this gender pay gap. There's still things happening, and again, in the UK, in America, where it is I think generally quite more inclusive, and there are opportunities for people to be who they want to be. Labels are a human instinct. We all want our own names. We want to label things, and we want to label our religions. We want to label our sort of our love lives, and there's this just instinct to do it. In fact, I'm doing a naming service and baptism sort of naming service out of church, our sister church in Hatbridge on Sunday. And part of the ceremony talks about that ancient human tradition of naming things and naming each other. And I think that, some of that goes towards, who ends up in the church. I also think there's an element of, because of the stigma attached to certain things, a bit taboo. And is it a load of old mumbo jumbo? Is it a load of old rubbish? There's that element. And I think women often realize that their mind works best like a parachute, faster than men, and they open it. I think that's just my opinion. I'm surrounded by as many beautiful men, women, people in same-sex relationships, and in otherwise relationships more traditional, and I don't see any real difference in that. I think talent and love is inclusive in that sense. Limo, is it Limo or Limo? I think it's Limo, isn't it? So Limo, hopefully that sort of answers your question. I've tiptoed around a few controversial subjects, and I hope I've done it respectfully and sort of tasteful. But I think it's an interesting observation, and for people watching all over the world, what is your observation in your local churches and centres? I think, Richard, you were about to say something. Yeah, there's no response at the moment. Okay, thank you. I've sent you all off to sleep, perhaps. I just wanted to finish by saying that also religion as a label was the human instinct to try and put together what we've learned so far in a portfolio and call it religion, and associate that with sort of traditional ways. And I think lots of religions have created lots of rules and laws about who can be in their gang. And I think for a very long time, some religions made it very difficult for people to be gay. And actually spiritualism being very inclusive, more modern. It's about 175 years old in terms of modern spiritualism, a bit more inclusive, and it's made that space. Hi, Alice. Good evening to you. Kylie. Good evening. Millie Brown has a question. Hi, Ashley. Hope you are well. I am. Thank you very much. I have a question. I've been daydreaming a lot, and I was wondering, am I daydreaming or having visions, as I am clairvoyant, though I don't practice and still learning about it? Oh, lovely question, Millie. And I think there's a couple of different ways of looking at that. So, do you remember we were just talking about the vividness of the daydreaming visions? You could run some little experiments with this. So, do your daydreamings dreaming day is daydreaming, yeah, do your daydreams have an element of coming true? Are they a vision of something about to happen in the future, or are they a vision of something which has happened somewhere? Try and look for some evidence. If you are being given these visions and they are vivid visions, then challenge your communicator. Who is giving you this daydreaming? Who is giving you these visions? I think both are absolutely possible. And if you are already working through the clairs, you said you're clairvoyant, so the ability to sort of hear spirits, clairsentience, clairaudience hearing, is it clairvoyant seeing? If you are seeing spirit energy, and you could be doing that within the mind's eye, absolutely, it could be a combination of that. And what is daydreaming? It's an opportunity for our mind's eye, and indeed an out of body experience, perhaps, to have a bit of wonder. Out of office, more of a it's great, it's Friday, no more traditional Monday to Friday work, into the weekend. So great that you can feel the visions, Millie, that the fact they're vibrant. I think there's a big element of perhaps people either taking you on guided meditation or taking you somewhere to your meeting circles. So just within the visions and the daydreams, and maybe ask who's giving them to you. Challenge your communicator, and do it now. Look, just drawn this card for you. There's the farmer in the field, and this farmer it's time to reap the benefits of the crop. Now is the time, Millie, to challenge your communicator, ask who they are, and know the difference. And I think the fact you can daydream and go off and call it a meditation, out of body experience, fantastic. Very, very good show. Nice question, Millie. Thank you very much. Folks, we've said a lot of different things. What do you think about what we said so far? And Richard, what was it you just said? Sorry. 5th of June 2020 was my first live. Wow, so 3 years. Yeah, so 3 years since my first show. And really simple mathematics. If I did just one show a month, that would be 12 times 3, wouldn't it? So I'd be approaching the 36. And I think I often did 2 shows. So I think that I've got to be hovering around the 70 to 90 mark, and 52 weeks of the year, half of that would have been the 25-50. So I must be approaching about 70 shows, Rich. I'm going to go and do some GCSE level C maths later. Yeah, try and work out. Okay. So 51 in the playlist, producer Rich has just said. Hi there, Sharon Reeve. And looks like you're with King Charles. Good evening, Your Majesty. Cami and Chris Melton sending some love. Look at that, lovely. Thank you, Cami and Chris. Thank you for the love hearts. Paula says, do you think I'm contracted to raise my grandkids? I feel I've been put here for their purpose. Paula, if you feel that, then I think that absolutely that is very likely. And I think if you're using the word contract, we're talking about perhaps like a soul contract. I believe that we start in that place I call heaven, and that's where we finish after our earthly experience. I believe my 3 boys said goodbye to each other in heaven and then reunited for the earthly experience. So I do believe in that concept of contracts, and I do think it's absolutely possible that you from the spirit world, you just said, look, I'm going to go down first, and when you come down as grandkids, I'm going to be here to raise you, guide you, and direct you. It'll all be for a reason. So Paula, if you believe that, I think that is very, very likely that is exactly the case. And I want to say that I pulled that fortune card for you, which had already explained the sort of concepts, and I feel that this is just part of the experience. Some of the experience is for you and you to continue to guide and direct them. And indeed, I want to take you to this body card. Okay, so I've drawn this body card for you, Paula. And here we got the human body, the interface stripped down in the background. You've got like a real depth insight into there. And I was just sort of getting that real sense of like, yeah, our body, our mind, body and soul, our emotional intelligence, all of those interfaces between all of them talk about the fact that ultimately it's a vessel. Our body is a vessel for our spirit to have that earthly experience. And I think it's absolutely right that people choose their families and they choose elements of it. They may even choose some of the more likely experiences. So lovely collection of rainbows, unicorns, sweethearts, butterflies there, a night sky. Sometimes when I see a story like that, I feel like we're going back to ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. We're just all going to communicate in hieroglyphs and pictures, because you can tell a story, can't you, quite powerfully by words. And I think you do a lot of that, Paul. I think you're quite a visual person. I see that within the grandchildren. I see that the rainbow and a spectrum, like a neurodiverse spectrum of your grandchildren actually being younger than you in terms of earthly years, but some older souls, perhaps. Some of the things I was picking up there, being quite neurodiverse, being quite visual. I'm a dyslexic person. I work laterally. I work very visually. And ultimately, I have a short-term memory problem with my dyslexia in terms of the way I learn and the way I read, the way I sort of take information. I was getting that real sense. And I know you've put a rainbow there, but I had that big sort of neurodiverse sort of spectrum of intelligence, high emotions, high sensitivities, all being really quite powerful. So that was for you, Paula. Hopefully that makes sense and you've understood that that card. Kylie says hi. Hi, Kylie. Hi from Maryland, says Johnny Wink. Hey, Johnny, how's it all going? Tracy Williams, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you too, Tracy. Good day to you. Millie B has a question. Millie B says, when doing mediumship, is it your spirit guides bringing in the info for a message, or is it actually our loved ones talking to you? I've always wondered about that. That's a lovely question, Millie. Thank you for asking. If we take this show this evening, the messages I've done, I've had a bit of a combination, right? So we spoke about meeting circles, we spoke about principal guides, we spoke about spirit teams, spirit guides. And the way that I think that I work is that I create a meeting circle. And this meeting circle is where my personality can reach out as an interface, as a medium, to what I refer to as the waiting room. In this waiting room, inside the waiting room, it's a little bit like Quantum Leap, sort of quite cleansed, traditional but modern waiting area. There is also these meeting stones, a bit like Stonehenge, where I meet sort of new personality and guides. I have a guide called Bear. Bear is like one of my gatekeepers. He sort of stands on the door like my bouncer. And he checks everyone and makes sure that all the communicators coming forward can vouch for themselves, that they're going to be understood. Bob Brunton, who was a godfather figure to me while I was alive, he'd been a spiritual healer, he'd also been a boxer. I always associate him with the physical security. So you've got Bear, who's a Native American Indian, on the actual door, and then within the meeting circle, you've got Bob Brunton, who's like my immediate interface. Now, neither Bob or Bear are my principal guide. I'm 40 years old, been brought up in spiritualism. I'm still getting to know my principal guide. I've always felt them, but I don't understand their last earthly experiences of personality. I've got an ancient Mongolian called Sai, who sits in the background, does quite a lot with healing. He was an old sort of medicine man. I've got more people coming through. I've got Ralph Steadman, who's a fantastic spiritualist philosopher while I was alive. I think that he chairs my committee of guides. So next to the waiting room, I've got the boardroom, or my philosophy guides all sit around there. I've got a guy called Giles, who was an American professor right up until the 1970s, and he sits on my sort of ethics committee and my philosophy. And when I'm answering questions around philosophy, it's the boardroom, and it's Mr. Ralph Steadman, Mr. Ralph A. Steadman. He's just corrected me. He always wants me to add A. There was a cartoonist called Ralph Steadman. Ralph A. Steadman. There's only one Ralph Steadman as well. That's why I like the A as well. Anyway, Ralph says, I've spoke to the team and we've decided that we have now all agreed that this is the answer. And that happens immediately. That happens through some of my philosophy. So sometimes they're answering the questions for me. Sometimes when I'm working with the cards, Bear and Bob are directing me to sort of particular cards. And then when I start to get evidence of the communicator, it is the communicator talking to me directly. So the first couple of messages I did, when I said, I've got someone here who claims to be, that's their opportunity as the communicator to say, I've been, I've just had my ID checked by Bear. Bob has patted me down. I'm safe. You can talk to me, and I know this person. I'm going to come through. Other times, it's just my guide saying, "Yeah, it's a really good question. They don't have a communicator right now, but actually, we've just tapped in. We've just put quick text message in, quick WhatsApp, through to their team, and they've said, yeah, absolutely, that there's going to be an investment on perhaps the communicator's like, oh, it's like the taxi on a light goes ping. The communicator goes, you called, you rang, you've summoned me, here I am. All of that can happen quite instantly. What did you say, Richard? You rang, my lord. I think all of that is quite possible. Millie says, thank you, Ashley. Never thought of it that way before. I'll remember that now, lol. I always try and do this show with a bit of appropriate humour, Millie. So I hope I never thought I come across as sort of disrespectful. Millie, I want to draw a card for you, and this card is the cave. And there is there's a naked person there in the cave. Almost in the fetal position, you're being reborn, wanting to leave the cave. Looks a bit scary out there, dark, ice. Is there ice freezing over or ice melting in the cave? And as we think about the opportunities with this card, we think about this like rebirth, about finding ourselves again, about seeing things from a different light, about the opportunity to go back to our grassroots, about to go where we are. They're facing away from the light. And for me, there's this element of that, although they're facing away from the light, are they facing away from the gloomy reality of what's outside the cave? And I want to say, Millie, there's an element of something toxic, someone toxic outside the cave. And it's like, I'm not going to give them any more of my time or energy. And there you are, protected in that fetal position in the recess of the deep cave. This card for me, often when I've picked up around myself, has been a bit around my mood, and it also represents that in terms of the toxic nature, there could be an element of depression or perhaps an element of anxiety out there. And it's like, where I am now, I am safe. I am psychologically safe inside my cave. And I want to say that you've said you understand, and that resonates with you about this toxic element outside situation around the sort of depression. I want to talk about the fact that although there's I want to call this a tactical withdrawal for you, as in you've kind of made a decision to velvet divorce. I'm going to go into the cave. Headphones on. I'm all right. It's all over there. I am investing in myself. I am relaunching. I'm rebuilding. So there's an element of you doing that as opposed to coming back. Millie says always mostly indoors. I'm trying to get out there a bit more. Yeah, absolutely. Wait for the ice to melt. Definitely. There's something out there worth going to. And as that light comes in, I think that sometimes we withdraw from pain. There's no bolt, opportunities to get out of the cave as quickly as, and there's no reason to leave. Here we are, pure and naked and in our birthday suits and sort of ready to go. And I think the pain and the grief is out there. And it's sort of like working out what we want to give back to the universe, what we want to work forward with. I also think that this card also reminds me of like our introverted energy, how that we are absolutely capable of getting energy from ourselves. And I want to talk about the fact that you're connecting with your introverted side, getting your energy from yourself. And you've just told me you spend a lot of sort of time. I want to say that you have the ability to be extroverted and get energy from others, but you're choosy. And quite rightly so, about where you get your energy from in terms of that energy exchange. The lights awaits after a period of healing. That's sort of what I want to say. That last bit of the card, Millie, is here you are, safe, protected. You can be you, all of you, and you can be absolutely authentic. And when you're ready, take all of you out, emerge. Know that healing and investment has gone in. So Millie, that card was for you. Millie says, so true. Ashley, thank you very much. I love the fact that you've been right bang on the keyboard to give some verification. We often say, particularly when we're working live, that feedback and verification, it's almost like to inflate the ego. And I think it's really important that you don't have big egos to do this job, but you need enough ego to give up your time to do it, to go and serve a church, to get out of bed and sort of have the confidence to do it. So personally, as Ashley Robinson, I absolutely love the verification. Thank you very much. Carol Bates says hi. Good evening to you, Carol. Natasha is saying, so interesting. I'm glad that you're enjoying the show, Natasha. We've got a question here from Stacey, and then it's 9 o'clock. I think we do a couple of do we do a couple of adverts around 9 o'clock? Okay, so Stacey Fernan, I'm going to take your question after the adverts, and you're asking about spiritual gifts. So, folks, stand by. If you need a wee, you need to top up your glasses. Do take SPTV with you. Listen to the adverts about all the fantastic things going on, and I'll see you in a couple of minutes.
My Spirit Life is a free online interactive magazine for those who have an interest in improving their spiritual lives. Authors can upload images, videos, and audio clips to their own articles. The public can place comments, rate the article, and follow the author. All articles are vetted before being published. For more information and to place your own article, please visit myspiritlife.co.uk. This Sunday from 11 a.m., Wimbledon Spiritualist Church hosts the Divine Service, with online and on-location readings. Start your day with Nick Brown this coming Monday morning from 11 a.m., with guests, readings, live interaction, and debatable topics.
Hello, folks, and welcome back. Just having a little chat in the margins there with producer Richard, and I was talking about being blessed, folks. I am blessed to spend some time with you tonight, and I'm blessed to have my friend Richard that gives us all these opportunities to do what we do. And I remember, 3 years ago in June saying, Richard, do you think anyone's interested in spiritualist philosophy? 'Cause I really want to talk about it. And I know that people want free readings, but are they interested? Well, they want to ask questions. And Richard was like, only one way to find out. We'll click go live and we shall see. And folks, I love it. I love you as an audience, as an online audience and congregation. Thank you for giving me your time and spending some time with us tonight. Stacey says, how do you know if you have a spiritual gift, and can you discover this at any age? Yes, absolutely. You can discover how to work with the spiritual gifts at any age. I think we can all work with the gifts, Stacey. And I talk about spiritual gifts. I think, for me, the big ones I often make reference to are the gift of healing, the gift of mediumship, the gift of vision, the gift of affirmation. There are lots of spiritual gifts. And I think Jesus, who was an amazing teacher and leader, used to speak about the fact that, if you think I'm good at this sort of stuff, disciples and people of the world, then you just wait and see how you, as the people, will work with these gifts. Because I think Jesus had a cunning plan when he was trying to contextualize what energy was. And I think he quickly cottoned on to the fact that there was a fatherly figure to energy, and that by talking about being the son of God and God as his father, people could very quickly in that time understand perhaps what the energy, the divine presence of energy of the universe was. And in doing so, he wasn't, I don't think, claiming to be the only son of God. He was saying that we're all children of God because God is the universe and God is the energy. And actually, you can discover how to work with these gifts at any time. I'm just here as one of those messengers to say that there are gifts and we can use them. Look at this ability to heal. Look at this ability to do X, Y, and Z. So yeah, I think we all have gifts. Some of us are more naturally gifted than others. And that is across a whole range of talents. And I want to just sort of break down the word gift, talent, sort of skills, because Stacey, we can all draw, right? We can all access the internet. Some of us have done it by mobile phone, TV tonight to watch this show. Some of us have accessed browsers. Some of us are probably multitasking. Some of you are messaging your mates in the chat room and talking about what you've had for dinner or tea. Some of you might have two things going on. My mum and dad have often got a few things going on in their home. I think my wife sometimes has the show on while she's doing a bit of cooking. Richard's been known to do a bit of washing up while producing the show with me on. And I think that we all have different strengths, and strengths are the things we're good at. Strengths are therefore things we tend to do all the time. And actually understanding what might be a gift and a strength, or a gift and a talent, sometimes is natural, because some of us can just sing more naturally, better than others, or dance more naturally. You know, he's a better dancer, she's a better dancer, they're a more gifted singer. But there are people that spend time developing it. And I was watching something the other day that said, if you divert 18 minutes of the 24 hours to a skill or strength, and you do it every single day consistently over a period of time, you can become a subject matter expert in that. You might not necessarily be the best in the world, but you can develop an absolutely brand new skill. So it all depends on how much time you spend on investing in this. I'm 40 years old now. I've been around spiritualism my entire life. I didn't sit in a formal development circle till I was 18. And then I sat every single week at 18, and I slowly developed. When I started sitting twice a week, or in between those practices, you can get better. My 8-year-old son's learning to play the piano, and he has half an hour every other Tuesday to learn the piano, and it's been slow progression, which he's absolutely loving it. If every week he practices, he gets slightly better and he progresses more. If every night he spends 5-10 minutes practicing on his keyboard or one of these sort of games on the iPad, I noticed when he goes back to the class, he is maintained and he's been a little bit more consistent. And I think the spiritual gifts are like that. How much time we divert to developing those gifts, after what point in our life we discover them, all of that, yeah, absolutely possible. So yeah, we can all work the gifts. We all have natural strengths within that. It's working out how to use your strengths. And some of us have different talents, and we can rely on our strengths. I mentioned my dyslexia, drafting, particularly handwriting, but even word processing to a certain extent. It's not my strength. I can do it. I can do it at a reasonable standard. It is not my strength. I've started to really enjoy it, public speaking. It's more of a strength. I can persuade and influence people. I've got a strength there. So when you start to merge your strengths with the gifts, you can have talents, and therefore people can be more entertaining than others. They can deliver things better than others. And it's all about practice, utilizing our strengths and working with our talents. Okay. Going to draw a question for you. Okay, so I'm drawing a card for you now, and I am producing. Okay, right, lovely. So Stacey, this card for you, and it is the stranger at the door. So who is this stranger? Stacey says, amazing, great to know. You're very welcome, Stacey. I want to call you Stace. I know you're Stacey. And I feel okay, yeah, I do have a communicator for you, Stace. This person is showing themselves about 30. This person is a woman. She's claiming to know you, and she's giving me this sort of like real friend vibe. She's had she's had an illness, and she's not been well at all. But she's also talking about taking responsibility for a decision. Okay, a number of decisions that have led to her life. Her lifestyle has affected her death. She was calling this Stace. You'll understand this communicator, Stace. But as I draw this card for you, then it's like, well, who is the stranger at the door? And I think because you were talking about gifts, I want to say it's your gifts. The gifts are always there. It's not really a stranger. It's about you getting to know another part of you, Stace. And as you work out who this person is at the door, you're sort of sussing them out. It's a part of perhaps your personality, a part of your nature that perhaps you've shut out because you've not yet discovered it, or you've not wanted to have it, or it wasn't the right time. It could be an element of your life which you've neglected and not invested in. It's interesting, we were talking about investing in you, and I think that it also shows caution. The fact is, they're behind the door. You can open the door, you can peek through the hole, you can check the letterbox, you can put the chain on before you open the door. And it's like, just to continue to approach the situation with caution, Stacey. Everything on your terms, at your speed, at your pace. Everyone calls me Stace. Okay, that's reassuring to know. And I hope you understood who that communicator was there, Stace, that was coming in, and you've understood the meaning of your card. That was for you. Okay. I know who she is. I'm now ready to let her in the door, in with the new and out with the old. Good luck and best wishes to you, Stace. Thank you. Okay, let's see the last couple of questions. Okay. Right. Tracy Williams, thank you so much. Very interesting. How do we connect with our own spirit guides? Phil's actually nice little transition from that last question. So making time and making investment. And, you know, for me, it is about clearing everything else which is in your mind's eye. For me, it's that place I store the shopping list, all the things to do. What books did I want to read? What jobs have I promised I'm going to do around the house, or things I'm going to do with the kids? And within that mind's eye, I have to get rid of the clutter. So chuck out your chids, as IKEA used to say. Clear your mind, and within your mind, the mirror or the canvas, whatever you can see within that pineal gland or that mind's eye, once that's at a point of clear, tranquil waters, you can say to spirit, start influencing me. Give me something vivid. And as you give me something vivid, you can start to connect with your own guides. You can progress that through meditation to the meeting circle or the waiting room, and you can start to meet people. Ideally, Tracy, find someone to help you. Go to your local spiritualist church or centre, join an open circle, which usually, you know, we had one at Wimbledon up until quite recently with Dawn. And you could just turn up on a Tuesday night and you were part of an open sort of development. Dawn's about to run a circle on Zoom where she's going to teach people actually. So even if you're not local to Wimbledon Spiritualist Church, check out at Wimbledon Spirit on Facebook or Mr. LAD Promotions on YouTube. You can contact Dawn through the church. You'll see the post that we've reshared. Join a virtual circle, start to get some tuition, start to get some guidance. If you can physically attend and you can make that time to do it regularly, that will all work. You can do them as one-off workshops. Ivan Lee, celebrant minister, vice president of Women's Spiritualist Church, is running a workshop at Hatbury Spiritualist Church in July, half-day thing, and it's to kick this sort of thing off, and it's about practice. Our spiritual and psychic weekends, there's all sorts of open platforms, development circles, meditations to get stuck in. Loads of great stuff in the SPTV archives. Fantastic directory online, folks. SPTV UK. Go and find someone that knows a little bit about this that can guide you. So good question. Draw a card for you. The card I have drawn for you is the Never card. Okay. Now the Never card is one of those decision cards, and it's the Black Raven. It's a card for you. The Black Raven is shown standing upon a skeleton in the snow. Pretty bleak outlook there. A possibility of failure and denial of fulfillment is there. And what I want to say is, rather than me saying it's never going to happen, Tracy, actually what I'm saying is that never the Raven is there, because I feel that there's been an element of you putting that up, and it's a fact of like possibility of failure. Well, I don't like that. There's the never Raven flying around again, and I want to say, Tracy, that, you know, never say never, and do not be worried about the fear. With every risk, there is also an opportunity. Wherever there's an issue, there's something to resolve. So good luck and best wishes, Tracy, and you see, you sure will. Lovely jubbly, as Del Boy would say. Good luck on that journey. Okay. Do the next question. Okay. Are you on every Friday? Every other Friday at the moment, Joanne. Sorry for coughing. Hello, New. I've never done this before. I love to see who my angels are. I know someone been in my whole life. I am 47. Garrett and Carlo, good evening to you. Thank you for asking the questions. And yeah, great. You know, your angels, your guardians, your guide team, getting to know them, and it's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that you know someone that's been in your whole life. Welcome to the show this evening. Welcome to this spiritual community. You're on Facebook, I think. So head over to the SPTV fan page. Otherwise, later, Garrett, connect with a few other members of the community. We also have our VIP forum, the Patreons. You can become a supporter of SPTV to help keep it free, invest in things like new digital cards we just brought quite recently. So yeah, good question. I'm going to just draw two quick questions for the two people that just asked those questions. So the first person asked the question about am I on every Friday, every other Friday at the moment. Plus there's the 50 shows in the archives, and I think I must be approaching about 60, 70 shows now. The card I drew for you was the scales. And I want to talk about the fact that, yes, the apple never falls too far from the tree, but there's a real element of justice here, and those scales are unbalanced. And there's an element of you having a bit of a struggle to balance the competing priorities of the day, of the life. But I want to say, keep going. There's more apples. The next apple will come down and it will balance the other way. You're doing absolutely marvelous job, and not to worry about it. And then the question we just had from someone that was talking about being 47 and angels. I have for you the card which is the warrior, and the warrior card which I draw for you for me talks about you being a spiritual warrior and having a warrior creed. Garrett, I feel that you would understand the concept of what it is we're trying to say. You stand for love, you stand for hope, you stand for light. And although we have this warrior, very brave, the sword is facing down. The battle is over. The warriors seen here in all their pride, in their full armor, against the background. I think it's a beautiful, it's a medieval castle. It's a nice looking one there. There's the moat, there's the village. This card, I want to sort of talk about the hero. The hero in the card, the battle is done. The conflict is over. I want to say that there was an element of deception in your life, Garrett, and that you were emerging from that you're going through. But the possibility that you're still being deceived, I think, is a real psychological one, and it symbolizes the fact that okay, I'm just getting something else there about a liar. Let me try and bring in a communicator for you, Garrett. So I just want to say that it's because you've had someone lie to you. Okay, that was why. So it was just a woman that just came in. This woman, very maternal. I've got a mum and I've got a grandmother. I've got an S sounding names of her, like a Sally, sort of Sierra. I've got the S sounding name. I've also got heart failure with her. She's moving towards the left hand side of her body. She was talking about an April anniversary. Garrett, you'd understand this woman on your side of the family. She's talking about, yeah, they had the liar. That's part of it. But the biggest battle is over. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I'm listening. Real chatty woman. Okay. Right. Vengeful. There's an element of this liar being caught out. Someone caught out a lie. They could be quite vengeful, aggressive. And I want to talk about the warrior in you. The armor has been quite okay. The armor has been about resilience, about topping up your armor. It's like emerging from this, investing in you. You are the phoenix. The armor is back on. You're reinvested in yourself. There's something about. And this woman, you're saying his grandmother, name after her. There's something about your grandmother. She was saying, typical male chauvinist pig. Right? They're not talking about you. They're talking about a liar that has passed. Okay, past tense, and there's something about that. And they were just passing that that bit on as a sort of. So yeah, you understood. I think you communicate. You've understood the warrior card, warrior creed. You stand for love, you stand for light, you stand for truth. You have moral courage. You have done the right thing in this situation, but your battle is over. Your sword tip is pointing down. Onwards now, forwards, rest, recuperate, top up that resilience. So Garrett, thank you very much for that. That's the last sort of question and reading for tonight, folks. We've actually gone slightly over. We usually finish about quarter past. Garrett says, my husband, who I married and still with him. She's talking about him. Okay. Well, you say you're still married to him. Sorry. It was her that said he was male chauvinist pig. I don't mean any disrespect to that. If you're watching on the show, sorry about that, sir. It was mother-in-law, grandmother-in-law. She's just corrected me, Garrett. But yeah, hopefully that all makes sense. I mean, you're saying thank you, so hopefully it did make sense and you understood the personality of the communicator coming through. Some greetings from San Francisco. Greetings, Lisa. Greetings to you all, folks. It's been absolutely fantastic being with you on the show tonight. For those of you on Facebook, head over to my page at Ash Robinson Meeting. Garrett says, no, she can't be mad. Okay. Thank you for the confirmation, Garrett. It's been wonderful to connect to me tonight. Yeah, find me. Hit me up, folks. Follow me across all of the social channels at Ash Robinson Medium. I'm giving TikTok a go. I feel like it should have come with a teenager to really contextualize it for me, but I'm trying to get the hang of TikTok. There's a lovely medium called Sarah Warman. We're going to try and do a live mediumship night one night on TikTok. Instagram. And a few things. I've even been Snapchatting recently, trying to talk about SPTV and the show and being spiritual. Love connecting with you all. Love having you here on a Friday night. You're an amazing group of people. Thank you so much for our producer, Richard, that brings us all together. You know, the mission to bring like-minded people together. Yeah, absolutely. For 4 years, do you say, Richard? Oh, before I disappeared, Richard was just saying, yes. Just listening to the producer, folks. Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. So, folks, sorry for the silence. It's probably like the equivalent of watching paint dry while I was unable to multitask. But what Richard was just discussing was exploring the art of the possible. So, one of the experiments that Richard and I would like to run one night is the opportunity for someone to describe a spirit guide, communicator, and I link in with them. I bring some evidence of that person, and then Richard, with his technical wizardry and some artificial intelligence, will also see what they're able to do in terms of generating some content, some products. So are you interested in us doing that sort of experiment, folks? A little bit of me working with you, describing a communicator or a guide, and we use that evidence verified by you and the gift of artificial intelligence to generate some content and some products. We could do that live on the show one Friday night. If you're up for that, hit us up in the comments on YouTube and Facebook. Head over to the fan page. Thank you for those that are saying that you've joined for the first time. You've loved the show. You've enjoyed it. Patrick's saying yes. June Malkin, hi June, hello to Dave. Well done, great answers and love and comfort for us all. You're very welcome, my friend. Joanne Ripper sounds interesting. So it looks like Joanne, there's like 2 people are up for it. Terry Louise says that would be so cool. Yep. Kylie Osborne says, yeah. So lots of yeses by the looks of it. So watch this space. We'll try and advertise that on the SPT fan page. If you're on Instagram, follow SPTV on Instagram as well. That's where we place a lot of the adverts and the cue cards. And of course, turn on your subscriptions. Subscribe. I've never done this before. My kids are always watching shows and someone always points at a button, don't they? And it's like, hit that subscribe button. That's my terrible accent of some of my kids' YouTubers. But, you know, do subscribe because you get your notifications. Click on the little alarm bell and make sure you get the notifications. You'll know when we're going live. So, yeah, hello, Stace. Lots of you saying yes. Lots of you saying you'd be up for that. We will advertise that. So go and follow now all of the SPTV UK pages. Go and follow my pages and you will see when we tell you a little bit about that. People have said they've loved listening to us. I think that's been really good. Julie's very interested in that too. Definitely interested. Yeah, good. Right, we will do that, folks. Sold to Stacey Shaw and Patrick Lewis and a few others that have given us that feedback. Folks, Friday night, wherever you are in the world, it's as the sun shines. My granny said something about it. Always 9 o'clock, always somewhere the hour is at the square, and we raise a glass. So raise a glass to good health. I send you love, light, and laughter. Be kind to each other and do things that make you happy. Do things you love with people that make you love. God bless you all. Good night.